I'm Dave Hartzell, Kingfisher, Oklahoma. 45 years in the HVAC trade. Figured something out. Me in the truck, working through something. Today it's about a thinking trap that costs people real money. It's called the sunk cost fallacy. And I have watched it cause people to put $2,000 into a system that was worth replacing for 15 years, including people who were smart enough to know better. Because this one doesn't respond to intelligence. It responds to something older than logic. I've had the conversation more times than I can count. The system is 22 years old. The compressor failed. The repair is going to be $1,100. And even if it holds, the unit is inefficient. It's on its last legs. And the repair doesn't address any of the other things that are wearing out. Replacement makes financial sense. And the customer says, well, I just put a new capacitor in it 2 years ago. That capacitor cost $130. It has nothing to do with the decision they're facing right now, but it matters to them. It factors into their thinking. They can feel it pulling on the decision. That's the sunk cost trap. A sunk cost is money you've already spent that you can't get back. The rational thing to do, according to economists and psychologists both, is to ignore it completely when you're making a decision going forward. What you spent yesterday cannot be changed. What matters is what the best decision is from this point forward. But that is not how human brains work. Research going back to the 1980s, starting with work by psychologists Arkes and Bloomer, showed that people consistently factor past investment into current decisions even when they logically know they shouldn't. In one of their studies, people who had already spent more money on a ski trip they couldn't enjoy were more likely to push through the trip and make themselves miserable because they'd spent more. The ones who'd spent less cut their losses and went home. The mechanism behind this is loss aversion. We feel losses about twice as intensely as equivalent gains. So when you spent money on something, writing that off as a loss feels genuinely painful, much more painful than the size of the expenditure would justify. Continuing to invest becomes a way of avoiding having to officially register the original spend as a loss. There's also something called commitment escalation. The more you've put into something, the harder it becomes to walk away, because walking away feels like admitting the past investment was a mistake, even though it wasn't a mistake at the time. The capacitor repair 2 years ago was probably the right call 2 years ago. That doesn't mean replacing the system now is the wrong call. Both things can be true. Here's how this plays out in HVAC's decisions specifically. A customer puts a repair into a system. The next time something goes wrong, they think about the repair they just put in. That creates a feeling of investment, of recent commitment. It makes them want to get their money's worth out of that repair by keeping the system going a little longer. So they put in another repair, and now they've got even more invested. The pattern can go on for years. Meanwhile, the efficiency on the old unit is costing them money every month they run it. The reliability is getting worse. The probability of another failure is climbing. But the decision keeps getting harder because the pile of past investment keeps getting larger. I had a customer once who had put about $4,000 into repairs on a system over 4 years. When I told them the compressor was gone and it was time to replace, they felt like they'd wasted $4,000. They hadn't. Those repairs bought them 4 more years of operation. But psychologically, it felt like they'd been cheated. The right call 4 years ago is not the wrong call, just because the system eventually failed anyway. All systems eventually fail. The research suggests a few ways to interrupt the sunk cost trap. The most effective one is reframing the question. Instead of asking, what do I do about this system, given what I've already put into it? Ask, if I were buying this decision fresh right now, knowing only what the system costs to operate and what it would cost to replace, what would I choose? That moves the frame off the past and onto the future. A second approach is making the math concrete, not approximate, not general, specific. If your old unit is running at 10 SEER efficiency and a new one runs at 18 SEER, you can calculate the monthly savings. That real number competes with the emotional pull of the sunk cost in a way that vague statements about efficiency don't. I try to do both of these things when I'm talking to someone facing this decision, because I genuinely want them to make the right choice, not just the one that feels least bad in the moment. Those are sometimes different things. Here's what I figured out. The sunk cost trap isn't a sign of poor thinking. It's a sign of a brain that is trying to protect you from registering a loss, which is one of the things brains are built to do. The problem is that protecting you from the feeling of a loss sometimes costs you more than the loss itself. The question is never what you've already put into something. The question is always, what is the best decision from this moment forward? Once you can hold that frame steady, the answer usually gets a lot clearer. I'm Dave Hartzell. This has Figured Something Out. Thanks for riding along. Call 405-375-4822 or book at hartzellsheethair.com.